Welcome to Speed City with John Massengale, Les Kaiser, and Jonathan Creed. Brought to you by MyPlates.com. Upgrade your license plate at MyPlates.com. It's the fastest hour on the radio. Speed City.
Well, I want to hear about Cadillac.
Yeah, let's talk some Cadillac.
Come on now.
All right, we're going to welcome to the show a gentleman who is getting prepared for the Daytona 24 Hours. Is Ricky Taylor out in at the Roar at the 24. Ricky, welcome to Speed City.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, how is it down there driving that new 6.2-liter Cadillac?
It's unbelievable. It's been a great process from the ground up, and it's really exciting to finally be here in Daytona testing for the 24-hour.
How's the weather been? Because we know you've had kind of like rain and then it stopped, and then we've had Corvettes blow up, and so there's been a lot of drama in the last couple of days.
We don't care about Corvettes.
No, we don't. How's it gone for you?
Yeah, it's hard to test for a 24-hour because so much can happen, but I think we've actually seen pretty much all of it. We had temperatures in the 80s on the first day of the test, and worked through a test plan in those conditions, and then a full day of rain, and then a full day of freezing cold temperatures, and not to mention night practice as well. So hopefully we got a handle on pretty much all those different conditions, from one end of the spectrum to the other, and we'll just hopefully it's one of those 5 options for race weekend.
Ricky, I got a question for you. I realize the cars are very different, but the other Cadillac boys, Johnny O'Connell and Michael Cooper with theirs, we see them around here at the PWC races and things. How much information is relative between the two teams and the vehicles as different as they are?
They are very different. I mean, so far in the program, it's very early days still. So we're working on big ticket items where with the ATS VR, they're pretty refined over there. But already we've been using some services from Pratt & Miller, like their software programs for setting up the car and logging data, and as far as organizing, the engineers' workbooks and stuff, that all is shareable, and those sort of things kind of help the programs run smoother. So as far as a race team goes and how it functions and how they get the job done, and that's been a very, very nice open book.
And how's this new kid getting on? This Jeff Gordon fella,
that rookie?
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty new, and he's been awesome, and that's been such a dream come true for me and Jordan as young drivers to be sharing a car with a living legend. And he came into the team, and to be honest, we expected, a superstar who, he could have told us, how everything is done, and, he's done it all, and we would have totally believed him and not questioned a word. But he came in with a completely open mind and, asking tons of questions. It's a very different car to what he's used to, and he was just open to learning. And I think his whole approach to the process so far has been really interesting for me and Jordan as young drivers to see someone as accomplished as he is and someone who's experienced as much as he is approach a new experience. And the way he's done it is a great lesson that no matter what you've done, you're still going to be new at something, and there's always something to learn. So for us, that's been really interesting, and you can kind of see why he's accomplished so much with his attention to detail and the intensity he still has to win races.
That doesn't really surprise me. We ran into Jeff Gordon when he came to Austin to the Formula One race, and we interviewed him just briefly. I think you got to interview him, Les, and he seemed really a humble guy.
He is. He is.
Yeah, I could definitely sit out and hang.
Amazing.
Yeah. Sit there with a beer. He had so much information, and he just absolutely is a racing fan. He loved what he was seeing in Formula One. He likes to see the differences and things like that. So he actually comes in with quite a knowledge arsenal, I guess, for you.
Got to talk about the car, though.
He's seen it all.
Yeah, I got to talk about the car. I mean, they always say in Ferrari's famous phrase, a pretty car is a fast car. This I'm looking at the pictures of the livery and everything else. I mean, this is a massive step for Cadillac. I mean, the prototype, you guys in it, Max Angelelli, who's been around with Cadillac for several years now and part of the development. I mean, this is exciting times, 2017 for you guys.
It's unbelievable, and I mean, finally, the last 2 years of the WeatherTech Championship, we've been kind of waiting for this, and ever since the merge, it was just kind of, counting down the days to 2017 when we could all have these new, beautiful race cars, and the whole process has been amazing. Working with Cadillac and Dallara, who did a lot of the aerodynamic work and designed the car. And to see the partnership with the two of them, Cadillac, who's really gone through a huge facelift in the past couple of years with their new Dare Greatly phrase and all of that, and then Dallara has a saying that they use often in Italian. It's translated that fortune follows the bold, and so I mean they both have similar ideas of how they want to go racing. And it's been pretty cool to see them work together, and the finished product has been mind-blowing.
Well, I have to talk about we went out to the Circuit of the Americas today, and Jonathan was riding with me in the car, and I had to grab this tweet from your brother where he tweeted out a sound clip of that Cadillac going down the straight.
Yeah,
and I think
it's pretty impressive.
I said, he goes, I've heard it. I said, no, you haven't heard it in the car through the Bluetooth with the stereo cranked all the way up. And so that car sounded amazing. I swear it was awesome. In fact, I just emailed that to our producer, so hopefully he can cue that up for us here in a minute. We'll hear that sound. But man, that car sounded awesome, Ricky. It was incredible sounding.
Yeah, it's not any worse from behind the wheel as well. It's definitely a beautiful thing, and to see, everything these days is going towards turbos, and the sounds, are kind of starting to go away. And when Cadillac, they've done V16 or the biggest engines you can think of, and to see them come back with a 6.2 liter V8 normally aspirated engine was. That's the only way it could have been, and they've done a beautiful job working with ECR on the engines, and like you said, it's great to have a nice American-sounding car. And then in the past, we've kind of lost that thing in sports car racing where all the cars have started to sound the same, and now I think you can kind of pick out the Nissan from the Gibson, from the Cadillac, from the Mazda. So I think that's another thing about sports car racing that we've all loved that's kind of back now.
Well, you're getting ready for, obviously, Rick, the whole season ahead, and Daytona's kind of a bit of a one-off because obviously you kind of get different drivers in and there's a different entry list, and of course it's a 24-hour race. But what about the season itself? You mentioned the new cars, you mentioned some of the competition there. It is finally, if you like, the United Series that we've been waiting for. What about 2017? First of all, your chances and the competition, because it's very deep.
It is. It's looking like the most competitive championship I've ever been involved in, and the level of drivers is unbelievable. Let alone, the level of engineering everybody's brought to the series this year is something I don't think IMSA's ever seen before, and it's very exciting. And to kick it off with the Rolex 24 at Daytona is a huge test. In the past, we've been faced with a 24-hour race at the beginning of the year, but it was with the Daytona prototypes, which were a proven package, and now there's going to be 15 cars out there that have never done a race before, and they're starting off with a 24-hour. So I mean, right off the bat, you're risking big championship points on reliability. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be fun to watch. Hey, Ricky, I want to ask you one thing about, in IMSA, obviously one of the big things throughout the years, the BOP, the balance of power. And I noticed that it looks like that Cadillac is going to be the only one that's, I'm not sure, may not be the only one, but I noticed they're using some of the restrictor plates. And is that part of what goes on at the Roar, is where they're testing some of that and gauging and seeing how that balance of power works? Is that what also happens at the Roar?
Yeah, I think that's kind of become sports car racing now. It's a big part of the game. But IMSA has a depth of tools and resources that they're putting into how they look at the performance of each of the cars. They've actually had all the different constructors, engine combinations, go up to the wind tunnel at Wind Shear in North Carolina and do, wind tunnel runs and run through all the different rakes and all the different parts and pieces that they've homologated. And so they've got that all mapped out. They've got full access to our data loggers, so they know all the data we have. So they know if anybody's playing games. They know exactly what each car can do. And so the changes they're making are based on a lot more data than it has in the past. So by the time the cars hit the racetrack at the Roar, they had a pretty good idea of what we could do. And I think the racetrack results are kind of just validating what they've already proven.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, balance of performance, I know, is a big deal. But I think you're right. We've had the same discussion where they're pretty scientific about it and get that right. And what's that wind shear? That's the Haas wind tunnel, right?
I believe it is. It's a full scale. I think it's a rolling road wind tunnel. It's impressive.
Yeah. So Ricky, let's you guys obviously are getting things tuned up and getting it all ready, but let's talk about your expectations for this year. With the new Cadillac and all the teammates that you've assembled there for the Roar and the Daytona. Talk about your expectations.
Yeah, I mean, we've done probably 6 or 7 days of testing. We've been to the Corvette Museum track in Kentucky. We've done Watkins Glen. We did an endurance test at Charlotte. We've been to Daytona. So we've had a little bit of high downforce, low downforce, bumpy, smooth, a little bit of everything. And the tough thing about our series is we have 36 hours of racing right off the bat. We go from Daytona straight to the 12 hours of Sebring, which is as grueling as Daytona. So, I mean, it is an ultimate test to kick off the year. And I think the preparation that Dallara and Cadillac and our team has done will hopefully, prepare us for that big test. As reliability has been something Winter Racing has been able to, really hang their hat on, finishing on the lead lap at Daytona 4 years in a row, and not having any issues. So I think this year that's going to be a big factor, and you can't discount Dallara's experience and success with these high downforce race cars, because they've had their fingers on pretty much every Le Mans winning car in the past few years, and it's to see. I mean, for us being historically a Daytona prototype team, which is essentially a high-powered GT car, moving into this style of car, having Dallara there to support us with all their knowledge of how to run the cars and this sort of trim has been very interesting, and our engineers have gotten up to speed with it all, and I feel like we've got a really good shot at a championship this year.
Last but not least, got to ask you, I've been to the Daytona 24, but anybody listening, they got to tune in and watch, because it's a unique event for American racing. It starts off the international year, and anything can happen, and usually does.
Yeah, I think the race starts off on Fox Network, and then I think there's actually 23 hours of coverage over the Fox channels.
They couldn't get that last hour.
Yeah. Got to take a break.
They're only missing one.
Hopefully it's not the last one.
Hopefully. Yeah, it's and I mean, it is 24 hours of racing, and these the way the race has gone in past years, it is. I mean, Jeff Gordon was asking us, how much do you push in traffic, and what kind of risks do you take, and what percentage is everybody pushing, from start to finish, and how does it kind of progress? And we basically had to tell him it's flat out the whole time.
It's 10-10, mate.
I was just about to ask that. Tell us about your stints. What do you expect from a stint? What would your stint length or what's the general rule of thumb for planning?
So we unlike Le Mans, we will single stint tires. So generally, we'll stop every 45 minutes, do tires, fuel, and then normally we'll do double stints to start the race because it's a little more tense, a little more pressure. Everybody's a little more edgy. And then in the night, we'll triple stint. So it'll be about anywhere from 2 to 3 hours in the car, just so the other drivers can get more sleep. And then it starts to really heat up again when the sun comes up, and then we'll go back to double stints until the finish. But like I said, it's flat out the whole time, and there's nothing like being in the car at 3 o'clock in the morning, having a battle with somebody lap after lap after lap, as if it was a 2-hour 45 race like it is in the middle of the year.
I know that's what I always find when you're actually at a race like that, because, and you've probably been on the sidelines occasionally, not very often, but when you are in the crowd or when you're working as a journalist, you go and have a break, you go and have a drink maybe and have a dinner, or even maybe possibly if you're a journalist like myself, go back to the hotel and then come back, and you guys are still at it. And it always amazed me about going to any of the Le Mans or Daytonas is just that fact, is that you guys don't take your foot off the pedal, whereas everybody watching, gets a chance to take a break, because it is an endurance for anybody involved at the event. Doesn't matter what facility you're involved in. It really is a long weekend.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, like you said, when you're at the track and you go to sleep and you come back the next day and everyone's still going and the cars do not shut off. And I mean, you'll be in the car with one driver, and then they'll change drivers, and all of a sudden you have to learn, maybe this guy is better in different areas, and it's so interesting. And then, I mean, one year we were out early with an issue, and I just walked around the infield from grandstand to grandstand, watching the different corners, and I mean, it was a shame that we weren't still in the race, but it was a blast to go around and watch from that perspective. And then in the middle of the night, you go in the garage and people are, changing half the car and doing engine changes and all sorts of crazy things. And it's just all part of it. And I think as a fan, to be there and witness that atmosphere and that the spirit of the 24 hours is something really special.
Well, Ricky, we want to wish you the best of luck, and we'll be watching. I think I average about 12 or 13 hours of that race on viewing myself, so we'll be definitely watching, and the best of luck for you. And when and we're going to let you go, but on the way out, our producer did find that sound clip, so we're going to hear the naturally aspirated power of a V8 Cadillac as we let you go. Thanks, buddy.
Best of luck, Ricky.
We appreciate it.
See you soon.
All right, thank you very much. I'll just stay on and listen to it.
One more time.
We're going to fade out and take a break, and we'll be back after these messages and after this badass sound.